UCF falls to Kansas State in Manhattan. What went wrong for the Knights?
You are Locked On UCF, your daily podcast on the UCF Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on in to Locked On UCF, your daily UCF podcast. I'm your host, Mike G. Thank you so much for making Locked On UCF your first listen of every day. Turn us up, turn us on. We did not turn out today in Manhattan. UCF falls to Kansas State here. James, what went wrong for UCF today? That's what we're going to talk about. Then we're going to talk about some positives, the running game kind of coming on late there, giving UCF some hope, but and then we'll talk about what this game says about UCF moving forward. Let's start at the top here. It felt like Taven Jackson kind of getting hurt, even though Ja'Cory Brown threw an 82-yard touchdown pass. I mean, he turned into old Ja'Cory, and that turnover led to a score for Kansas State. Just this team goes as Taven Jackson goes, and I don't know what else to say about it. I was surprised. What happened? I'm surprised Ja'Cory was next off the bench here. I thought Cam Fancher would be ready to go here. Scott Frost turned into Ja'Cory. I mean, again, he did throw a touchdown there on that little out pass that they were able to turn up. But just not enough plays for the Knights today out there.
Yeah, when you put Ja'Cory in the game, I think the announcers got it wrong. They said, oh, when you put Ja'Cory in the game, it's the same game script. Well, you see a drastic change in game script when Ja'Cory's in the game. He threw a couple of passes today. His first one was an interception, and then he had another one, obviously, for the very, very long touchdown catch there. And we talked about needing explosive plays. Well, you got one there to put it close. But you can kind of toss that one up as just a great one-time thing. It was a nice, over the shoulder pass. DJ Black kind of broke the tackle and took it all the way. There wasn't any help over there. The safety was late getting there. So, you have that one big explosive play. When Taven comes back in the game, you get a little bit of a spark there, even though he's playing through obviously a very clear injury, and also got hit later in the game and had a small injury to the lower body. So Taven got beat up this game, and I think that's one of the main things that went wrong for UCF today is the guy that you felt so comfortable going into this game with gets knocked out early on.
Yeah, it was tough. He threw his first interception of the season today. And Ja'Cory, he had one, and then Ja'Cory Brown came in, obviously, and he was 1 for 2 for 82 yards. Taven Jackson only 12 for 24 for 115 yards there, but hit a few big plays downfield. But it was ultimately the running game that kept UCF in it. Now, I think when we did our over-under, we set that number at 250, 205 yards rushing. Miles Montgomery, 10 attempts, 119 yards there. Jaden Nixon with a few big ones, 5 attempts for 66 yards. UCF averaging 6.2 yards per rush, but skewed by some really, really big plays. For the most part, the run game was just not there early. We saw that kind of come on in the third quarter there. And then Dwayne Thomas Jr. continues to be Dwayne Thomas Jr. He had some big plays as well, too. Marcus Burke coming up with a big one. DJ Black, obviously, with the 82-yard touchdown. It was just a very uneven performance. This game essentially was the opposite of what I thought it would be. Kansas State did what I thought UCF would do, and UCF was right about where I thought Kansas State would be. 402 yards of total offense for UCF versus 434 yards for Kansas State. I think it feels like UCF lost this game in the second quarter.
Yeah, you got behind real early, and you couldn't get anything going, and you had your one big explosive play. Obviously that you are you are more comfortable after that explosive play because you're like, okay, we've got things going. And then you let them make a big drive before the half, and that really kills your momentum. Going into the half, I think it was 24-10. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that really, really, really just destroys your momentum going into the half because you think you have this amp up, this momentum to get back in the game, and then you give up a long drive before half. And so and then even right before the end, you have Jacurri take a shot and he gets a little knocked up and he gets a little banged up before going into the break. And so you have all of these injuries. It seemed like you couldn't get any pass protection today. I was very confused about what the route tree was for that fourth down play at the end of the game, where it seemed like you had Dwayne Thomas and somebody else maybe Kylan in the same exact hole, like in the same exact part of the field. And it almost looked like Taven was throwing to both of them. And you had 3 defenders around. I'm not sure what the route tree was there. There was definitely a lot of moments where big plays happened. Obviously, Jaden had a big run. Miles had a couple of big runs. Marcus Burke had a huge catch down the field. Those plays have to be more consistent, and you have to stop having the little tic-tac plays in between then, which have to force you to make those big plays. You need to just have those explosive plays.
Yeah, I agree. You needed them big on the road, and they got them here and there, but it was a very uneven performance. This is the most points, obviously, that Alex Grinch's defense has given up this year. On the other side, some bright spots for Kansas State. As I mentioned, Avery Johnson was a guy you had to slow down. He went 18 for 25 for 168 yards and 2 TDs. He completed 72% of his passes. Wasn't super amazing in this one, but he did just enough. Now, he added 75 yards on the ground, which was huge for Kansas State. A little disappointing that they let him get going with his legs.
Yeah, no, there seemed to be a severe lack of contain. You felt like you got a lot of pressure on Avery Johnson. I mean, saw him scrambling out quite a bit and in pressure quite a bit. And it seems like he was looking for somebody downfield. And then lo and behold, the center of the field, no linebackers. There's nobody there to get him. And he just takes off and runs. And those big plays happen on 3rd down, 2nd and long. And then it kind of just deflates the drive because you feel like you have him and then you let him get outside. Now, I will say there were a couple times when he got outside or he shot through the gap, and I'm watching John Walker, Rodney Laura, Horace Lockett get held by their jerseys way beyond the mark. And I'm like, what are we doing here with some of these lack of holding calls? Now, granted, I don't think 3 or 4 holding calls stopped us from getting our butts kicked, but
yeah,
certainly in big moments, you lose those calls, you lose a lot of momentum on drives.
Yeah. Look, we're gonna talk about the running game here, and we're gonna get to some comments. You guys are watching. Drop your comments here. We'll address them. Let's get to a quick word from our sponsors, and we'll be back to talk about the UCF run game. This episode of Locked On UCF is brought to you by our friends at Mazda. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than just put points on the board. They move crowds, they move culture, and they keep the game moving forward. DJ Black kept UCF moving forward today with a huge 82-yard touchdown, a moment that only DJ Black can deliver, and Mazda likes to deliver to their buyers every single time you buy a Mazda vehicle. And you follow what moves you. The unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to every Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move or be moved. A couple comments here. I want to address. Jim Driscoll comes in and says the lack of holding calls against K-State was ridiculous today. Blatant holds ignored by the refs. Very frustrating when you're trying to stay in a game to have as much holding uncalled as we saw today. Zachary Foster says the fourth quarter play looked good, but man, Coach Frost looked really frustrated with Taven on that drive with the 2 delay of game penalties. You cannot do that twice on one drive. Agreed. Learning moment there for Taven that I'm sure he will pay for in practice this week. Jim Driscoll comes back with another comment. He says, correct the holding. Didn't cost us the game, but damn, it was frustrating to see them not get called. It is always frustrating to see non-calls on blatant holds. Look, at the end of the day, you got to play well enough for that stuff not to matter. So I agree with both sentiments. It can be both two things can be true at once. It can be both frustrating, but also we're not going to sit here and act like that was the reason UCF lost the game. Let's talk about that running game. How were they able to get it going? Miles had some tough runs to start it out. Jaden busted one out. If you follow me on Twitter, I was posting some of these as they were going. I was encouraged to see they were able to find something to get the offense going late. They got out of rhythm, it felt like, when Taven went out, and they just never got to a point where it felt like they were going to win this game. But I think you've got to take some positives away. And if you're Scott Frost, you got to figure out what worked in the run game, and you got to get back to that next week.
Yeah, absolutely. It felt like when Taven came back into the game, there wasn't the guaranteed run and or quarterback run coming from the backfield. So you felt like there was another dimension coming, and so they had to respect the pass and the run. That's when you really see Miles and Jaden kind of getting out there and moving on their own and being able to find space. Definitely a lack of diversity in play calling when 11's out there on the field. And so you kind of know what's going to happen. And it seems like he was particularly struggling today. Usually Jacurri is probably the most athletic guy on the field in terms of being able to duck and dive and move people around. And there was a couple of times I saw him slipping out there and fumbling the ball around, and there wasn't anything there. And so a 4th and 1, you bring him in. I like the call. I don't mind it at all. But then coughing up the ball and that's a big drive for UCF. That's a big momentum drive. And for him to reach out, try and get the first down, he gets stopped, doesn't bounce it out. You have big plays like that and the one from late in the game where you're 3rd and 3, and then you have a false start, and then you got 2 delay of game penalties, and now it's like 4th and 1,000,000. You're not going to win playing football like that. Your running game, it doesn't matter how good it is in the second half if you aren't disciplined.
Yeah, I agree. Discipline is what it comes down to. Now, here's the thing. I didn't see a team that quit today. They may not have been their best game of football, but I saw a lot of fight, especially when it came to that run game. It was frustrating. This was considered to be a good team coming into the season. This was always going to be a tall task to go get it. But as UCF showed us more and more, myself along with others started to feel a little bit more confident about how this one would go. If you're Jacurri Brown and you get a chance to get in the game, you can't have 7 carries for 5 yards. My brother in Christ, you cannot be bad at the thing that you're supposed to be good at. And that's what he was in this game. I mean, he was no real threat. And that just in that stretch where he was in the game, it really, really just killed UCF. Now, he did come up with the big throw to DJ Black, and that can't be understated. You only scored 20 points in this game. And so that was huge. But I thought he would be more. I thought he would open up another dimension for this UCF offense in the run game, and it just didn't materialize. Before we move on, though, again, Miles Montgomery, 10 carries for 119 yards. This is what I think Scott Frost was expecting from his number one back coming into the season. Can he carry this performance forward?
I think he can. I think you needed to see a breakout game from Miles and probably playing the best run defense that, coming into this game, you look at this run defense and you're not impressed at all. If you watch the previous film, you're not impressed with this run defense, and you're not particularly impressed with their run offense either. Now, Dylan Edwards came back. Obviously has a pretty monster game in the trenches, running between the tackles, outside the tackles. The guy had a great game, but so did Miles. And Miles had a great game, but this defense is just out physical our O-line in a lot of situations where they're getting bullied up front. And I don't, there's nothing that you can do at this point in the season that is going to change how strong those guys are. It is a mental battle out there, and you have to continue to fight all the way through the game. I loved seeing that our wide receivers and our running backs and our quarterback was fighting until the end of the game. I think that pick was just an absolutely unreal athletic play from the corner. The guy put it on top of, Dwayne Thomas's helmet, and Dwayne Thomas got up there and he caught it, and the guy just rips it out. You got outplayed today. You got outplayed.
Yeah. Look, it's going to happen. None of us were expecting an undefeated UCF. This didn't feel like an unwinnable game. And I think there are some positives to take away from what they put on tape today. They just got to go back to the drawing board and figure out how to move forward. Look, we're going to talk about what this game says about UCF and where they go from here right after a quick word from our sponsors. This episode of Locked on UCF is brought to you by our friends at DoorDash, guys. The weekend is here. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP. Who delivered? The guy that delivered was DJ Black. When UCF had to get in the game, DJ Black delivered in a big way with an 82-yard score. When the pressure was on, he came through for UCF. And just like DJ Black delivered for UCF, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season. You could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your Saturdays only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo code through 11/18. That's DoorDash Streaks. This episode of Locked on UCF is also brought to you by our friends at 5 Hour Energy. 5 Hour Energy delivers some great flavors and some awesome ways to consume your caffeine. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5 Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugars and 0 crashes. The most important part there. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Get the favorites you love, or be bold and try something new in store and online at www.5hourenergy. That's the number 5 hourenergy.com or on Amazon today. What does this game say about UCF? I think it says that they're still a work in progress, but they've got a lot of fight left in them, and they're going to be hell as they continue to learn more about themselves. And Scott Frost has more on tape to evaluate and teach and try to move this team forward. I don't think that UCF fans should hang their heads about this game. I don't think they got run off the field today. That's not what I saw. It was disappointing in some aspects, but they didn't get run off the field here on the road. There were big plays out there to be had, but the offensive line, as you astutely noted in the last segment, is worrisome. And if you're Scott Frost, you got to scheme up something that gets the ball out of the quarterback's hands quickly and covers this offensive line here, because, man, they left a lot to be desired out there today.
Yeah, I think what this means for UCF, the last time we played Kansas State was also in Manhattan. They have not played us in the Bounce House. There was a similar point differential, but that game felt unwinnable. And it felt like the only way to win that game was through RJ Harvey. And he did his absolute best. This year, you're fighting until the end of the game. You obviously beat yourself up with some of these penalties and some of these maybe lack of holding calls, and you have you have a lot of things to choose from in terms of, hey, what went wrong? And these things are fixable. That's the big thing. You can't fix a ref, you can't fix whatever, but you can fix your pass protection. You can work on pass protection. You can work on run blocking. You can figure out what you need to do if Taven goes out, because as much as I think Ja'Cory Brown is a fantastic athlete, I do not think that he is a reliable quarterback. And I think you saw that today. Obviously, you have the big explosive play, but what this game says about UCF is there's a lot to work on, and there's a lot to move forward with, but it doesn't get any easier from here. It gets harder. So you need to buck up, you need to play well, and you need to play without minor mistakes that add up and cost you the game.
I agree. Look, you've got playmakers. DJ Black, Marcus Burke, Miles Montgomery, Jay Nixon, Taven Jackson, all those guys made plays today. But you're not a complete team yet. So you've got to figure out a way, if you're Scott Frost, to get the most out of the guys that you have. And I say this, like, we all get that it's a rebuild, but I like the attitude this staff has taken. They want to play as if they can win now. They want to coach as if they can win now. And they're trying to find ways to win games now. And I think that shows in the results that we saw on the field today. Yes, it was disappointing, but UCF is going to be on the right end of more of these than on the wrong end like they were last year. So there are some games to be got out there in conference play. This was the beginning of that stretch. Hopefully we see UCF come away with more of the winnable ones that they just gave away last year because of what I have called coaching malpractice. And my my witty commenters understand the inference there. But man, I was disappointed. I was frustrated looking at my screen. I was just, I was like, oh, it's there for the taking. They've just got to go back to the film and find a way to take it next week. So we'll keep our eye on that. James Duncan, UCF sports commentator extraordinaire, joining me for the post game this week. Guys, go Knights. No reason to get down. No reason to quit on this team. There's a whole season in front of UCF. And we'll be here to cover every single second of it. James, I want to thank you for joining me today. And I want to thank all you guys for making Locked On UCF your first listen of every single day. It's another big moment at Locked On, college football fans. Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation with two-time AP Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch Locked On Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season and only on Fire TV. You can catch us here tomorrow on Locked On UCF.